All right, so for the very few of you who may not know me, I'm George Wells. I'm son-in-law to Don Ford, and of course, the husband to my wife, Kimberly. Or Kimmy, she's best known by our family. I'm accompanied by Kaylee Ray, my daughter, her significant other, Jake Hamilton, and my son, Georgie, the third George in the Wells patrilineage. The cute and sometimes annoying Chiweenie dog is Olive, and she is Kim's second daughter by way of adoption. She was also a fierce and loyal friend of Don through thick and thin. I'd like to welcome you here today to honor our Papi Don and acknowledge your presence and the effort made in the process. This is not your average trip to the cemetery, all the way up to that last climb up the hill. I know some of you traveled great distances to be here. Know in your hearts that Don would be deeply touched by your show of support of family here. Sorry. Family was what Don was all about up until the end. He chronicled our family tree in great detail, spending months and months collecting the data and years showing it off to anyone who would listen to it. He was on a fixed income, but he would willingly invest heavily in DNA kits from Ancestry.com whenever they were on sale. And when they arrived, he would select a family member and then pester us for delivery, proclaiming, "We need Uncle X's spit. Go get it so I can complete his chapter." Don Ford was an indomitable spirit. I firmly believe he thought this day would never come. He fought like a warrior to stay in this world forever. It was his determination to do so that motivated us to do everything in our power to fulfill his wish of immortality. Some folks at 95 years old have a medical directive indicating no code. Don't try to save me. I've lived a good and long life. Don had just the opposite order. Okay, that he was to survive at any cost or measure, and he taped the order to his bedroom wall. In the end, it was not age that took our Papi Don, but a rather violent fall which forced a disc from his throat to be ejected from his neck. Against all odds and the urgings of the surgeon at Hoag Hospital not to operate, he survived the surgery and recovered his speech and swallowing function in just a day. Alas, it was an infection in that disc at the end that took him away. Don was a physical and mental phenomenon, and by that he was way overweight, right? His exercise regimen was his daily walk to the fridge from the garage to get a quart of ice cream. And while doctors said he was technically obese, Don's blood pressure was consistently 10 to 20 points lower than mine. and he was not taking a single prescribed medicine up until the day he died.
Oh my God.
He developed bladder cancer in his 80s and ignored his doctor's advice to have his bladder removed. 7 years later, his doctor told me that the cancer had somehow remissed on its own and would not return. Don had a remarkable memory. He could recant details from a young age, including street addresses of his childhood friends, the names of his elementary school teachers, the menu items and drink specials at Bertola's in Oakland from the late 40s. Don was a CPA, and indeed, he was still completing all of our tax returns until just last year. I think the thing that kept him so vibrant and alive was his ability to ignore stress, to not allow it to sink in and take hold. He was always positive. He was going to win the lottery, and he would get very animated when it reached great heights. And I used to tell him, the higher the prize money gets, the lower your odds are of winning the lottery. To which he would laugh and say, "Nonsense. My odds are 50-50. I either win or I don't." I've often said to my wife that Don simply did not absorb negativity of any kind. Don had no bad days. He had this incredible way of rolling with the punches and never letting anything detract from his dreams, regardless of the unlikelihood that they would be fulfilled. Don trusted everyone, even those who sought to take advantage of him, and some did just that. Even in those instances, Don preferred to just move on, to forgive those who trespassed against him, turn the other cheek. He simply had no capacity for animus to anyone. Except, of course, if I ran out of bananas, and then there was hell to pay. So a couple of things before I sit down. The program has changed around a little bit. We're gonna welcome Franz and Heidi Metcalf up next. And I just want to remind people that who can make the lunch. There's instructions here on the pamphlet. Please join us in that and as part of this celebration. And again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here. Don is overjoyed at this moment knowing that you're all here on his behalf. Yeah. So if I can welcome Heidi and Franz Metcalf.